Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Drinking with the Hobbit. The Hobbit, right? We decided on that? The Hobbit, yes. So, for today's tale, let's see what we have in the chest. Pun intended. We have, perfect. The Howdy beer, Western Pilsner. Now, I've never had this beer. It's from the Post Brewing Company, but I think it's apt for the story we're going with today. This is a Western Pilsner with 4.5% alcohol, picked up at my local HEB. So we're going to try this thing out today, which it looks pretty good. And it's apt because it says howdy, and maybe I was a little bit too friendly for this story. So, for today's story, oh wow, it's really light. Did they brew this in Oklahoma? Because it looks really, really light. Actually pretty tasty. Yeah, it's a good Pilsner. Pretty light, a little hint of kind of that bitterness on the back end. I like it. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been boondoggled, I've been tricked, I don't know what the word is. This is brewed in Colorado. How dare they say howdy? I'm just killing Colorado. It's okay. Alright, anyway, on with the story. It's actually pretty good. Good job, Denver. But you can't use howdy. So today's tale is the tale of when I almost died at the Texas Renaissance Festival. Okay, I didn't really almost die. Maybe I could have, but probably not. I might be telling a little bit of a tall tale when I say I almost died. So way back when I was 19, wow, that was a long time ago. Anyway, I was a big fan and have been of the Renaissance festivals, as you might notice. I had started going to the Renaissance Festival here where I live when I was around, 16 maybe. I'd gone once or twice. Fell in love with it. That was really cool. And for those of you that have never gone, of course, you should totally go because they can be a ton of fun. And I had fallen in love with it. So I had continued to go, and it was just a blast. Now, because I had kind of fallen in love with it, I was like, hey, people dress up at this thing. I'm going to dress up too. And so I started slowly kind of creating some semblance of a costume. Now, the story is not so much about the Renaissance Fair, but it's more about me as a person. So if we rewind a little bit from 19, maybe back in high school, understand that I was a relatively shy person. I mean, I was, had a good group of friends. A lot of my classmates were really friendly to me. I had a lot of good friends. Had quite a few of my best friends. And I could, talk to them and everything. But kind of outside that group, I was not very outgoing. Not like I am today. And that's on purpose. Like I've had to work on that. But I was not very outgoing. Like if I didn't know that person, I would never go up and just talk to anyone. Okay. Well, I'm 19 years old, and as most of us, when we graduate high school and we kind of move off to do whatever it is that we're going to do in life, there's a couple of years there at least where we're trying to figure out and discover who we are and what we want out of life, and all those big major questions that we think we answer when we're that age, and then those answers change, that sort of thing. So one of the character traits that I felt I lacked was kind of being outgoing. Like, I just didn't talk to anyone outside my circle of friends. So I thought the Renaissance Fair was the best place for me to go branch out. I didn't know anyone there, and it's one of those things where, well, if you say something stupid or do something stupid, you're never going to see that person again in your life. Hopefully. Or or maybe you will. That's not part of the story. Although that would be an interesting one, wouldn't it? So my plan was, this is it. I'm going to go to the Texas Renaissance Festival, because there's a lot of friendly people there, and try to, break out of this shell that I'm in. Really go talk to people. And so that's really what I started doing. I would go, I camped out quite a bit. I would go to hang out at the group gathering and just kind of chit-chat people. And things were going really, really well. It was really helping me to break out of this kind of shell that I was in, if you will, as a young man. And so there was one time, again, this was maybe the second or third time that I'd gone to the fair with this kind of mindset of, I'm going to talk to people, that I really started talking to people, and I just kind of made a day of it. I was out by myself, which is, at that time, was not unusual, because sometimes my friends had to work, or they couldn't come that weekend or whatnot. And so I was out there on my lonesome, had my costume on, my garb, as we call it, and walking around the festival, and I was having a grand old time. It was awesome. I might have had a little bit of liquid courage. Not a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, I might have been underage here in the States. Maybe a little bit. Not a lot, though. Actually not a lot. But that definitely helped. And so I was walking around the fair, and I would go into shops, and I would just talk to the shopkeeper and say, hey, how's it going? How's your day? When I sat down to have lunch, I would talk to the people next to me and say, hey, how's it going? You enjoying the fair? How long have you been coming? Just some type of small talk to get myself out of this funk, if you will, this lack of confidence in myself. And then things were going really well, and I felt very confident enough to maybe go talk to girls. Now, as everyone knows, we as men do tend to have a hard time talking to females. And at my mind, at that time, or rather in my mind, in my mind, at that time, it was one of those things where I kind of had to consider, like, look, they're the same as everybody else, right? I'm not trying to get a girlfriend or anything like that. If that happens, great. I was single at the time. I know, right? How can I just keep them away? Again, still building my own character here. And so I would go talk to girls. I would go into shops where I had a captive audience. I'm just kidding. I wasn't a creep about it, ladies or gentlemen. Never be a creep about it. This was more of an exercise in just talking, conversing. And so I would talk to everybody, which was really fun. And so the day went on. My confidence levels were running really high. I felt great about the day. I felt like I was kind of growing and kind of breaking out of the shell and realizing, just talk to people. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't have to be that big of a deal. So the day went on. Night was falling. And one thing that you might notice when you go to the fairs, right around 6 o'clock, a lot of people begin to leave or have left. Families, people with kids, they've been there all day. They kind of head out. So what you're left with are kind of the revelers, or those that have had too much to drink, or those that are just going to stay and enjoy the rest of the day. But you clear out a lot of the family kind of group. And so what you are often left with sometimes are a bunch of young people, juveniles, hardcore party goers, which I am not a part of anymore. So the night was coming on. It was dusk. It was getting dark. And for some reason, I said, you know what? This is the time. I'm going to go just walk around, really talk to people. And I happened to spot these two young ladies. And I thought, you know what? I think they're very attractive. Let's just go talk to them. Maybe if they live around here, maybe I'll get their numbers. So I said let's, as if there were two people instead of just one. Yeah, that's a little weird, right? It's a little frightening, actually. Huh. This was a very surreal moment because I'm riding really, really high. Talking to two young ladies. They're enjoying the conversation. And then these two Hulks walk up. And so, if you're a jock, I'm not mad at you. And this is in no way a stereotype. I guess it is a stereotype. I'm sorry. In my mind at the time, this might have been a stereotype. So apologies to you gentlemen out there that are considered jocks. But where I grew up, there was not a lot of nice people that were athletes, particularly when they didn't like you. Though there were some. Joe, you were always cool. So these guys walk up and they put their arms around their girlfriends and they literally say, "Hey, who is this?" Now understand that I know that sounds like some type of high school movie, like where the guy is talking to the girls and then they, discover, oh, they've got boyfriends and their boyfriends walk up. I'm not kidding you. That is literally what happened. It was weird. That's why it was so surreal. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening. So that's kind of the scenario. And so in my mind, I felt this was a bad scenario. And so I panicked. And that's not surprising. Understand that my confidence had been running very, very high. Now it was very, very low. I panicked. And this is what I did. And it sounds awful. I said, "Do you know who I am?" Yeah, it still sounds bad today. No matter how many times I say it, it still sounds awful. Because it is. So I panicked. And in my little mind, I decided that the best course of action was for me to pretend that I worked at the Renaissance Festival and that I was an actor and that my character was the son of the king. And so my next words were, "I am the son of the king, and how dare you," and blah, 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 blah. I don't know exactly all what I said. It was a long time ago. I try to forget these things. But that's what I did. And so understand that people that work at the Renaissance Fair, they have really good costumes, like kick-ass costumes. I thought I did at the time, I guess, or good enough. I totally didn't. Totally did not have a good costume. Like, if you were to just look across the crowd and start picking out people, they work here, they work here, they don't work here, I would have been that they don't work here. Very, very obvious. And it appeared that these guys knew that as well. Whether they found it funny, whether they were upset about it, I don't know. Whether they were just trying to play along, I don't know, because my mouth just started running. I don't really recall what I said, but I was like, "How dare you? My father will hear about this," all the while backpedaling the whole time. Now again, retrospect, nothing was going to happen. Nothing was going to happen. These dudes were probably pretty cool about it, but I don't remember that. They just felt very intimidating to me because I was caught. The jig was up, and I was on the receiving end of that. So I walked away unscathed. I just talked myself out of it. I didn't talk myself out of anything. I was just talking and walking away, and that's what I did. Frightening. Again, in retrospect, yeah, nothing was going to happen. These dudes were just probably messing with me or whatever. It's no big deal. At the time, scared. Yeah, I was pretty nervous. So, that's my story of the time that I thought I was going to die. I really wasn't. At the Renaissance Festival. I thought for sure I was going to get the crap beaten out of me. I didn't really think I was going to die. But it was very, very nerve-wracking. It definitely set my confidence back just a little bit. But it made me recognize that, one, you got to play it cool. Number two, never say, "Do you know who I am?" Ever. ever. And number 3, just be who you are. There's no reason to pretend. I mean, yeah, fake it till you make it sort of confidence. I get that. But yeah, just go out there, have fun, enjoy life. After that point, I never pretended to kind of be anyone else. Okay, that's not true. I was Robert Paulson at my wife's high school reunion, but that's a tale for another time. You guys have a good one.
His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson.
Come on, guys,
His
please,
name
stop it.
is Robert Paulson.